this is why we need a royal commission into the COVID period to get all these people on the stand so they can be held accountable for the death and destruction that they've caused.
Absolutely. Well, when it comes to the jab, I suspect many Australians now know of someone who has died, a close friend or acquaintance, who has died soon after getting jabbed. And, you know, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, wow, I wonder if those two are related. Do you think the public is ever going to, Australian public is ever going to start demanding answers for this?
Well, very slowly. It's been a hand-to-hand combat on this, where you had almost everyone in the country brainwashed into thinking these COVID vaccines were some type of magic potion that couldn't be questioned or couldn't be faulted. That was never the case. The science was never there. Even going back to the original Pfizer trials, it's been pointed out now, those original trials, the data that they were forced to reveal, show that there were more deaths in the vaccinated group than there were in the placebo group. So based on that alone, these things should have never have obtained their provisional approval in Australia, or the equivalent, the emergency use authorisation in the US. They should have never obtained those because the data was clear from the word go that the safety requirements were not there.
Well, we've got to keep pushing for a Royal Commission into this, because otherwise it's just going to get shoved down the memory hole. Now let's turn to the New South Wales election, Craig. Premier Dominic Perrottet, who is from your old party, the Liberals, is promising to open a $400 account for every child in the state, which will be used to, quote, secure the future dreams of our children. Now, how on earth does this work, Craig?
Well, firstly, this is just a very sad reflection of what's happened to the modern-day Liberal Party. This is the type of election bribe that you would expect from Labor or the Greens. Now, remember, every cent that they are talking about is borrowed money. So they are borrowing money to give a few dollars to kids, which the children will have to pay back one way or the other down the track with either lower government services or higher taxes. And what are they going to use that money for? What, to help pay the stamp duty, which goes back to the government on a house that they can't afford? It is reckless. It is to think that a Liberal government, once responsible, a fiscally responsible Liberal government, wants to give an election bribe of $400 to children. Like, why not throw in a couple of free ice creams and bags of lollies as well? If they're going to, well, that's I'm serious about it.
It is. Well, it's true. You're right. I mean, these are just electoral.
Let's
yep.
Ice creams and a bag of lollies if you vote for us.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Like.
Yep.
Borrowed money. Every single cent. It's not as though, look, we're going to open these new coal mines and the royalties from these coal mines will help set up this fund that we can use as they do at places like in Norway, where they use the royalties from the oil revenue that they have. If we're going to open these new coal mines and said we're going to quarantine the revenue from the royalties that give to future generations, fantastic. But what we're doing, we've got the McKeans of the world closing down the productive assets, closing down the things that create the wealth and create the income for the state, and at the same time getting in deeper debt, borrowing more money as an election bribe. It is just appalling that the Liberal Party has descended into this what I just described.
Well, I was going to say, Craig, that a
reckless election bribe.
Well, it doesn't matter which of the two major parties gets elected anyway, because they're both committed to net zero, and which will both destroy the state's economy. Now, let's get back to your party, the UAP. How will the UAP keep whichever party wins in check in the upper house?
Yeah, okay. So what we're running is an independent group in the upper house. We're unable to run under the United Australia Party because, again, the electoral laws in New South Wales favour the incumbents, and you have to be registered almost 2 years in advance separately in New South Wales. So we're running as an independent team. But what we need to ensure at this election, no matter what the result is, no matter who controls the lower house, we need to have the upper house of government to do what it's meant to do in a Westminster system, and that is to be a check and a balance on the lower house. If you've got an upper house that is just a rubber stamp for an upper house that is just a rubber stamp for the lower house, it's not what your traditional Westminster system is meant to be.